What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Claw and the King. How you doing, Zoopy?
I'm not too bad. How about yourself, Dopey? We were actually having an argument prior to the podcast today about the fact that he doesn't get called Dopey anymore because he believes he's past that stage in his life. He believes he's evolved.
I've been told that by other people.
By who? By Mitchell when he's drunk. Yeah, okay,
no,
that doesn't count.
A sober Mitchell.
I don't think so.
No one does.
But anyway,
no one does
by the by, he's still Dopey to me. So yeah, a pretty uneventful week in my sort of world of sport, even though there were many sports going on. Obviously, my main sport, the Premier League, happened to not be on because of the Queen passing, which is obviously very sad. Long live the King. But yeah.
Why is it sad to see a 96-year-old die?
Because she was the head of...
Should be happy. Her life would have been fucking dreadful.
Yeah, but she was the head of the world of... the English world for, 70 years or something she reigned? Something like that. Yeah, 70 plus years. So, yeah, it's obviously a sad day. Most people haven't lived a second of life without the Queen being the Queen. So it's a bit sad.
Now we got Charles.
Good old Charlie. Yeah, he's a bit of a... He is dopey like you. He kind of reminds me of you.
We're going to have a third royal soon because he's not going to last long.
Yeah, well, again, he'll probably last till at least 90. So there'll be probably like 10, 15 years of Charles left, I reckon. But, yeah. But I think William... Do you think William would be a good king? I think he'd be a good king.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know the royals that well. I mean, he looks like he does all the, the charity work and all that. So I guess that
he just seems like a good king.
He's at the Wimbledon.
Trust me, this isn't what we planned on starting off with. But I just wanted to say, God save the king. But yeah. So, what did you want to start off with first?
We'll start off with the footy. Finals week 1. One of the best week of finals ever. Maybe. Very, very entertaining. I guess we'll just break down all the games, how we saw them playing out and where they differed. Obviously, the first game, Penrith-Para, we were down at the pub for that one.
Paradise. Yeah, sorry. It just got stuck in my head. Anyway, yeah, we were at the pub. I had actually quite an interesting interaction at the pub where I split part of my inside of my lip, which was a bit funny. But yeah, in all, it was a pretty depressing 80 minutes for me because I was definitely not rooting for the good old
it's like
Penrith boys to win.
Told you. Everyone was up on Para, and I'm like, just watch this.
But let's be real. Anybody that watched the game can comprehend that the fact that Wagga Blake was getting paid off, at least.
No, they can comprehend that Cleary is the greatest player.
Well, he wasn't getting paid off, but I mean, like, he clearly cost them the game. You've got, especially the start.
3 drop balls doesn't cost you the game.
I think it does, especially where he dropped them and what they resulted in.
He didn't play well, but a winger dropping a few balls doesn't cost you a game.
The first 2 tries that Penrith scored, which kept them in the game.
What? Para only scored 1 try.
I know, but Penrith didn't have a shot prior to Wagga Blake dropping those balls. If Wagga Blake does not drop 3 balls he dropped 2 in a row. 2 in a row. That's not even... I've never seen that.
It's called a good kick.
Yeah, but... Okay, you can account for that for 1. But if you drop 3, you've clearly had a terrible day.
But they... Even still...
But look...
Defend your errors. Penrith defend their errors.
I know, but I think when it gets to 3, it's quite demoralising for a team. If you're like, well, my winger cannot catch anyway, so I'm going to be here. But yeah, I think it fell apart at the end. I didn't really watch it. I was, again, having an interesting conversation. But yeah, it was a pretty shambolic performance, I thought, especially at the end for Parramatta. But they've still got another chance, so they're still in it, in my opinion. They competed well with Penrith, especially in that first half. So I thought it was a good finals game other than the last 20 minutes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, great finals game. I mean, pretty much everyone now is consigned to the fact that Penrith are going to win. Obviously, I could have told you that before we kicked the ball in round 1, but now everyone else is on board with me. So it's good that everyone's joined the bandwagon. The second game, a bit more of an upset. I picked Melbourne, and they got beat by Canberra, which is pretty surprising. I think it's only maybe the 3rd or 4th time that an 8th team has beaten the 5th team.
Yeah.
Not very rare. I mean, obviously, you remember the Cowboys went to a grand final from 8th in 17 maybe, I think. Yeah,
Maybe.
with Michael Morgan, went on that beastly run of form. But yeah, Raiders upset Melbourne.
The Raiders.
Melbourne weren't great, but I didn't expect Canberra to be that good. They kind of do have a really good team.
Well, yeah, there was actually, I did see a couple of TikToks and Twitter posts prior to the finals that Canberra were their dark horse teams. It was a dark horse team to win it all. I don't know if I believe that. I think they do have good, especially in the forwards. I think they're really good.
Yeah, Tarpany is a
Papali, sorry. I think they're really strong up front. But do I bet on, was it Fogarty and who else is there? Whiten.
Whiten's pretty good.
Whiten's good, but I don't know if he's going to create something out of nothing. He's more of a... I think you've got to have a really good dynamic number 7 next to him for them to be elite. And look, that's maybe not been the case in the past. They had, Caesar with him when they went to the final against the Roosters. So that hasn't been the case before. I think they may have a chance, but I also think it was a bit maybe something to do with the fact that Melbourne just looked gassed. And I think, throughout the whole season, it was up and down. At times in the season, people were calling this is the worst Melbourne team we've seen for a long time. And then at other times in the season, we were saying, Melbourne are back, So I think it was a very, not controversial, but a very up and down season for Melbourne. And I think this was inevitably going to happen at some point. Maybe not this round, like not many people predicted it was going to happen the first round of the finals. But I think for me anyways, I thought definitely by the second round they'd be out. It was just too up and down of a year, too many injuries, too many switching with key players, too many players playing too many positions. It just wasn't, you brought in lone players. I just felt like it was too, slapped together late on to really be, to win 4 really tough games in a row. I just didn't think they could do it. So it's a sad day for Melbourne fans. I think Melbourne fans should be still happy with the fact that they're Melbourne Storm and they win basically every year. So just take it as a down year. Take it as an unlucky year. Like the Roosters, you have that year every year now, it seems.
But will it be a down year because they're losing Cheese, both
Cheese,
the Bromwich brothers, Kafusi,
Munsters. There's a lot of talk about Munster leaving. So
so they're losing a lot of players.
I think it's an end of an era for them, and I think the thing that made Melbourne or has made Melbourne so good over the past 20 years or whatever is the fact that their ability to quickly
cheat the salary cap and buy.
Well, no, I don't think that. I think the ability to transition from player to player. When Greg Inglis left, they transitioned and they still were competitive. I know they kept the same core for a very long time, in Munster, Cronk, and Billy, but
Smith.
I think everyone calls him Billy. It's what?
Cameron Smith.
Yeah, Cameron, Cronk, and Billy.
Slater. Oh, you said Munster.
Did I say Monster?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I meant to say Cameron. But yeah, it's different Cameron. Were you thinking of it anyway?
No, you said Munster.
Okay, I said Monster. Sorry. I was probably thinking about Munster on my mind because they transitioned from those players to the likes of Hughes and Munster and Pappenhausen really well. So I think in their history they've been really good at identifying up and coming talent within their ranks and promoting them at the right time. The problem is I've seen a couple of their young players come on and play. I mean, they've got Meany there, but I just think that
Meany's trash.
I don't think he's trash. He's looked a lot better.
He's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's just weird for them. A lot of the younger players had to fill in at different parts of the season, and I wasn't really that enamored by him. Like when you first saw Pappenhausen, you're like, damn. And you saw
that boy can play.
Yeah, he's quick, and also it felt like 2 or so years ago they had such wealth of talent that they couldn't play all the time. Like Hines. Hines was there, but he was a third string fullback a couple of years ago.
They had Drinkwater.
Yeah, I felt like they've had to sacrifice their depth to retain their top quality players, but it's just the timing of it all, where the top players have also come off contract at the same time that their young players have left. It's just not great timing. If they would have kept Hines for another year, they could have promoted him to a I don't know, any position really. Hines is really malleable when it comes to that, but I think if they would have maybe retained some of their younger talent that they had a couple of years ago, I think they'd be right, but it is looking a bit dodgy for them.
It is, which is brilliant to see. No one likes Melbourne. They're fucking scumbags down there. Next game, Sharks Cowboys.
The Cows.
Great
game. Great game.
Went past extra time into.
Would have been the
Golden
great best game of the weekend if it wasn't for the Roosters Rabbitohs. I thought that was the best game, but we'll move on to that.
Yeah, obviously Valentine Holmes kicking the field goal.
Great shot.
Puts them into their first ever home prelim, I believe, for the Cowboys. Surprising with all the years that JT was there, they never had a home prelim. But yeah, first one for the Cowboys. It was a very good game. You know, obviously Sharks are my second team, so I would have liked to see them get up.
Moisa.
Yeah, because of Moisa. A little disappointing because they had the game won, really. And then Connor Tracy gets sent off with about 7 minutes to go, and then Tamalolo scores on the last play of the game, pretty much. So it was a little bit lucky for the Cowboys, I think, but they did look the better team in extra time and Golden Point, and they were deserving winners in the end.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think a lot of people are like both those teams, that was their chance because now they have to play the Bunnies, and if they win that, they have to play Penrith. So,
yeah,
you know, the Sharks are kind of fucked, but hopefully they can beat the Rabbits this week.
Well, yeah, I think it was a good, entertaining game. I didn't actually watch it. I just watched the highlights on YouTube. I can't lie. I think we were
classic.
Were we out?
No, well, I wasn't.
I don't know. I must have been doing something. But yeah, it was. It looked like a really interesting game. The ending was really. Was it really? How long did it go on for? Because it went past 2.
It was 93 minutes.
Yeah, it went past 2 extra time periods, so it was pretty intensive. I mean, that must have been tiring as fuck, and especially.
Yeah, it's
especially for the Sharks, that's a killer. Because if you lose that game, you have to play next week.
Yeah, Tom Dearden ran for the most meters ever in an NRL game.
Really?
Yeah. Like 11.3 Ks, I think he did.
Jesus, that is that is dodgy. But yeah, I thought it was watching it back, I thought it was a cool game. But yeah, I think not many people were interested in this game coming in, but it turned out to be one of the best games. So fair play to both teams, and good luck to the Cows. We do have a mate who's a Cowboys supporter.
I kind of want to see Cows in the grand final just so I can shit on Mitch when they lose.
Like we did to you when we all went to the final when Penrith lost to Melbourne.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that was probably one of the funniest days of my life.
No one supported Melbourne, so it wasn't as good.
No, it was still good. It was still unbelievable. Because the fact that he was like, we should all go. This is going to be so fun. I can see the Panthers winning the title. I'm going to love it. And then he just, what are you down like 20-0 at halftime or something? And he's just got his head in his hands. He's just like, oh my God. We're all laughing at him. And it's so funny because the shock on his face when he just realized that he's getting blown out. He spent all this money to come out to watch the Panthers, to watch the Sauce fail miserably. It was...
Yeah, the Sauce...
He was a Sauce advocate. He loved the Sauce back in the day, but when he saw that grand final, I remember you vehemently telling me, the Sauce is done here. The Sauce is done. He's done. Get the Sauce out of it. He's done. But they made it interesting at the end, to be fair to them.
To be fair, that was the last game he ever played for us. So,
yeah, the writing was on the wall. But yeah, anyway, to recap the Cowboys Sharks, great game, and hopefully the Cowboys can sort of do a bit of an upset.
Yeah, well, I mean that side of the draw is wide open. Cowboys, Raiders, and Para.
Oh yeah, Cowboys, Raiders,
3 teams that no one really cares about or thinks are going to win. One of them's going to be in the grand final.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see.
Hopefully, definitely one of them is going to be in there.
Well, that's why a lot of people thought Canberra maybe could sort of sneak through to the grand final, I guess, if they upset Melbourne. So, yeah, moving on. Obviously, the last game, Sin Bin Sunday. Broke my heart.
Roosters, they're gone, baby. They're gone. On to next year for the Chooks. The Rabbitohs demolished them very easily.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case.
I mean, the game was quite something to view.
I think it was from a neutral's perspective, I think it would have been really entertaining. For me, my heart was in my mouth a lot of the times. There were some dodgy decisions. I felt George Burgess single-handedly took out our entire team. I mean, he's just flinging his arm around, knocking people out.
Well, he's been suspended now, so.
Oh, thank you. He knocked out our 2 best players. He's just knocked out Tedesco. It's literally the coach is like, mate,
you should have seen.
All you've got to do today is just knock as many people out as possible, and we'll probably win. But yeah, I thought it just was one of those games where I thought it was unlucky. It was just I thought in terms of injuries, the people that got injured, and also coming into the game having Manu get injured and having to sort of shift different players around. I just thought it was a really tough game from the boys. But it was just, again, it's kind of like Melbourne's season. It's a very up and down season because of injuries and fitting different people at different times. You know,
this is the Roosters every year now.
Well, I just think I don't think it's anyone's fault, really. I think it's just this is the result of what happened.
It's the Roosters' fault because they do it every year.
No, I just think it's the result of being at the top for so many years and competing for the top trophies and going deep into every season.
You haven't competed for 3 years now.
No, I'm not saying that. Well, we have, but
not
we've
really.
been into the finals. But the problem was if you go in so deep into the finals every year, and obviously we won back-to-back premierships, which was fantastic. When you get to the top so many times, it does sort of have a relayed effect because players play through niggles. They have little injuries that they muscle, they tough up for to be able to play in the next finals game. So I think it's also very tough on a player's body. And we have kept the same kind of nucleus around from the teams that won back-to-back championships or premierships, as Australians like to say. But look, credit to the Rabbitohs. I think Robbo said in the press conference, it was a mad game, but the Rabbitohs played better when the game was a lot more silent. It was a lot more, like a football game, basically. It was basically war out there for the majority of the game. But when it wasn't war, the Rabbitohs took advantage of those moments and we didn't, and we're out. But yeah, it's a tough one to swallow, but you live with it.
I mean, you should have shit your pants the moment you saw Ashley Klein with a whistle in his mouth. I mean, it was always going to go wrong.
Ashley. Yeah, I mean, Oscar does have
that man is a joke.
I'm more of a Jared Sutton denier, to be honest.
You're still not off Ashley Klein after that?
Well, I thought the first Radley sin bin was a bit dodgy. To be
fair though, the bunker is telling him to send them off. But
yeah, I think it's also you can't send 5 people off in a finals game. I mean, it's like a Champions League final, and you give each team 2 red cards. It's like now they're just running around. It's just now you're just making them doing sprint laps. It takes weird. The football out of it. But I just think it was also demoralizing when they were down, I think 2 sin bins and they scored against the run of play.
The Roosters just weren't good. They should have scored when they had 2 men. Angus Crichton, I think, dropped the ball twice in that time. They just didn't play well.
It was a tough game. I think you live from it, you learn from it. We're adding players next year. We got the cheese coming in. I'm excited. I'm pumped about that. So, yes, it was a tough one to swallow, but we'll live and learn. Look, at the end of the day, it was a tough game. A lot of people had to play in positions that they haven't played all year, and it was just a tough one when we had bad luck with injuries. I mean, and coming in, I think Manu was a massive loss for us, and it was just a tough one to swallow. But we'll move on, and hopefully we'll get better for next year.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully you guys can actually make it to us next year so we can knock you out ourselves. But
but you were nervous though, weren't you?
Nervous?
Nervous. I know, but even before the game, you would have thought to yourself, the Roosters are probably our biggest threat here.
Yeah, but the thing is, everyone is so far below us. Even the biggest threat is not a threat.
I know, but you would still think they're the second best team coming into the Rabbitohs game.
But I'm still not scared of them.
Okay, here we go. This is the type of talk that got him in trouble for the 2019 grand final. 2020 grand final, where he got bombed by the... Yeah, but... He was chatting so much shit before the game. Oh, we're going to boss this.
But this team is even better, and there's no Melbourne to beat us this year. There's no Cameron Smith to beat us. There's a Mitchell Moses to beat us.
Mitchell Moses is a fine halfback.
There's a Tom Dearden to beat us,
Tommy Dearden.
It's not Cameron Smith, is it?
Or Jamal Fogarty.
There's a Jamal Fogarty.
Look, obviously Penrith have been far above the competition this year, but they've also shown that they can lose. So they're not indefensible. They're not unbeatable. But yeah, that's our NRL chat. Well, disappointing week for me, but we'll learn. We'll move.
Give predictions for this week's games. Raiders versus... Who was it? Oh, yeah, Para. Raiders versus Para.
Para. I just think Para, even though they had a tough... I thought they played well for the majority of that game. And I think the Raiders, even though they won against Melbourne, I just think Para... Para could lose 2 in a row. They're that type of team. But I just have a feeling that they'll sort of overcome it and their quality will shine through.
Yeah,
Because I think they can match them in the forwards. That's the difference. I think the Bromwich brothers were kind of, especially, was it Jesse? I think he'd also dropped a lot of balls, I noticed, prior to, or the end of the season, sorry. He hadn't been at top form. But I do think that Para can match the forward pack of Canberra, but they also have really good skill on the backs positions as well. So, yeah, I do think Para will win this game.
Yeah, I think Para will win as long as Jacob Arthur doesn't get on the field.
He's not that bad.
He's pretty bad.
Again, but he's
For a
like
first grader.
He's 19. You're writing these players off.
Yeah, well,
I remember watching Nathan Cleary when he was young, and he was wank. So don't.
he wasn't wank
At Origin level, especially, he was bad.
No, he was just quiet. He wasn't bad.
If you are quiet as a halfback at Origin, you're bad.
Okay, but this guy is not first grade quality, and his dad is putting him on the bench every week.
I think
you've got Bryce Cartwright and Nathan Brown not in the team for this guy.
But Nathan Brown is not a halfback, is he?
Who puts a halfback on the bench?
Well, they've had to use him many times, so they've obviously needed him.
Yeah, that's just fortunate that Mitch Moses knocks himself out, but that doesn't happen all the time.
But I think he's played a lot, so I don't think
he doesn't. He plays no minutes if Mitchell Moses doesn't get
well,
injured.
yeah. I think Nathan Brown should be in the team, to be fair. I think you do need that enforcer kind of guy. Obviously, you're very popular there with your phone buzzing every 30 seconds. But yeah, well, it's a bit of a weird one, but I found it weird at the start of the season when Nathan Brown wasn't included in the team because he'd been a staple in that team for so long. But I guess they think RCG can do that sort of tough man, hard man kind of demeanor. What is it? Yeah, have that demeanor about him. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll go Para. They have to win this or Brad Arthur's getting the sack. So
up the mighty Para.
It's all on them. All right, and then the last game, Sharks Rabbitohs. Most people I'm seeing are going Rabbits. It's easy to see why. Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker, Alex Johnston. It's pretty much unstoppable. But fuck it, I'm going to pick the Sharks anyway because I love Moyes and I want to see my boy get a moment.
Hang on, who are they playing? Rabbits?
Yeah.
I'd go Rabbits. I just think the Sharks it was such a grueling game, and I think the Rabbits looked solid, and I think Trell will kind of run all over them, to be honest, but that's my opinion. That's one player I wish didn't go away. Latrell, if we did, we couldn't afford to keep him. No way. You can't afford to be paying a centre, especially when you've got so many good players like we do. We can't afford to paying a centre $800,000 a year. But yeah, I mean, Latrell Mitchell, he was a boss when he played, but he's probably the best centre in the league when he was at the Roosters. So disappointing that he went to the Rabbits.
No, it's Stephen Crichton.
I think we both know it's Joey Manu, but yeah, whatever you say, buddy.
Yeah, okay. So
yeah, even you can't dispute that.
All right. So yeah, that swaps ends that sort of chat off. Quickly, shout out Swannies playing in a prelim this week. For some reason, Zoops is just allergic to AFL, but good luck to him. Good luck to him. Out the SCG, sold out. Hope they get the dub for the boys now.
I refuse to acknowledge that was a segment. I refuse.
What? They're playing.
I refuse.
Who are they playing? They're playing Collingwood.
Are you speaking English? You sure you're speaking
Buddy
English?
Franklin, maybe his last year. Who knows? Up the Swans.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. We'll review UFC 279. Big card.
Was it? I think it was a very interesting lead up card.
Yeah. So if you don't know, the press conference was on a Friday for us, Friday morning. So it comes to 11 o'clock. I'm tuning in as any loyal UFC fan does to the live stream. I see it hasn't started yet, so I'm going, oh, fuck me. They're always late with the press conferences. I don't know why they schedule them at that time. But it gets to 11:30. It finally comes on. You just see Dana sitting there.
Dana!
And then
60 G's, baby.
What? Thank you for that.
Sorry. I'm one of those people. I do kind of, whenever something reminds me of a meme, I just can't resist saying, anyway,
right.
Go on.
Okay.
I just want to preface that to the podcast.
So the fighters aren't coming out, so I'm thinking, what's going on? Eventually, Kevin Holland and Daniel Rodriguez come out. They answer about 2 questions, do a face-off and leave.
Wow.
And then Dana's like, all right, let's get the next guys up. Let's get Tony and the Leech up. And then some security guard walks on stage, whispers some sweet nothings into Dana's ear, and he just goes, cut it, boys, cut it. So he calls off the press conference. The leech, everyone was mad because
Who is the leech?
the guy Tony Ferguson was meant to fight,
What's his real name?
Li Jingliang. He bought this really nice suit, and it got like they put a shot of him up on the live stream just before the press conference ended, and everyone was really mad that he didn't get to show off his suit in the press conference.
Imagine you're on like a 30 for 30 as well. You're like 30 and 30. Like you make so little money, and your one moment you get to spend a bit of money on a suit, moment. And then you just don't.
He didn't get it. But so apparently the press conference was called off because Hamza and Kevin Holland got into a bit of a altercation backstage, and then the Diaz team was throwing water bottles.
Again.
It really wasn't that much, to be honest, but they called it off. But the reason it was bad is because the Diaz team was apparently 60 people, and then Hamzat's team was like 40 people. So there was
Why does Diaz have so many people around?
They just bring armies with them. I don't know. So there was about 100 people backstage that were about to get into a brawl, apparently.
What the fuck is going on?
But yeah, so that happened. And then next day we get to the weigh-in. Hamzat Chimaev misses weight by about 10 pounds, which is very, very bad.
Surprising as well. It's almost scripted. It's scripted.
It's not scripted, but some people are saying that. So he misses weight. Nate makes weight. Tony makes weight. Leach makes weight. Everyone else makes weight. But then, obviously, there's no main event because Nate's not going to fight this dude 10 pounds over. So they basically switch up the whole card. Nate is now fighting Tony. Kevin Holland is going to fight Hamza, and then Daniel Rodriguez is fighting the Leech. So, honestly, it worked out, I think, for everyone except Kevin Holland, pretty much.
Yeah.
But because Hamza beat him in 2 minutes, didn't take a punch, absolutely fucked him up. But yeah, Nate actually got to win against Tony, which he would have died against Hamza if they fought like.
My god!
If he did that to Kevin Holland, he would have brutalized Nate.
That was because that was obviously Dana says I'm going to find all these illegal streamers. I'm going to kill them all. I'm going to send them to Auschwitz. I don't know, but I did somehow. I was just scrolling on TikTok and it just popped up, which I was like, oh, cool. So I did watch the Hamza Kevin Holland fight. I'm like, Jesus Christ, he got manhandled in there. It was like. It reminded you of like a school fight where like a footy player just goes after like the 5'4", nerd who he got swallowed up by him. I mean, Hamza doesn't even look that much bigger than Kevin Holland.
Well,
Kevin Holland's much taller than him.
He's fought at middleweight a lot. So.
Yeah, but he just got absolutely manhandled. He just took his back. He just ran right into it, just grabbed him, and he couldn't do anything. I mean, there was a couple times that you thought, oh, maybe he'll get out of this, but you're like, nah, this guy's like a what's it called? Like a snake almost. Once he gets a hold of you, he just keeps on fucking going after you.
He's put the division on notice now. I think he easily beats Leon if they fight. Kamaru and Colby, we'll have to see how their wrestling holds up against his.
Has Hamza actually to re-clarify? Has Hamza ever like punched? Has he ever like
against Gilbert Burns? That was a slugfest. He got dropped twice in that.
Oh, okay. So he is beatable. Like if a Habib came up against a Hamza. What do you reckon?
The thing with Gilbert Burns is his jiu-jitsu is so elite.
Yeah.
So when he's on his back, he can still submit you. So you need to have something to counter his wrestling. And if you don't pose a submission threat, he's going to destroy you.
Yeah.
So that's why Colby and Kamaru, they might still be in a bit of trouble because they don't have the best jiu-jitsu. Whereas Gilbert Burns, that's his go-to.
That's his thing.
So like I think Charles Oliveira could potentially match up well. Obviously,
I think Charles would get manhandled by him still. Like,
but
I think you've got to have some level of.
Gilbert Burns should have got manhandled by him.
Yeah,
but he didn't. He stood with him, and Hamzat won the fight, but it was fucking close.
Yeah. Moving on to the. Do you want to move on to the main event? Main
event. Tony looked slow and old.
Yeah.
Nate looked slow and old. Tony basically just gave up and just gave him his neck, and Nate was like, okay.
Yeah,
and then he submitted.
It was a sad fight. I think obviously we have a mate who's a big Tony Tuesday fan. And it's just sad watching a guy that was at the top who probably was in the lightweight division was viewed as the guy, even though he wasn't. He had an interim belt, but he didn't have the full belt. And yeah, he never got his dream Habib fight.
He never even got to fight for an undisputed title.
Because Habib pulled out numerous times. But yeah, I do think the Habib sort of... I don't know if it took a toll on him mentally, but I just think...
I think he just got old and the damage caught up with him.
Because he was on The Ultimate Fighter. I remember watching it with Brock Lesnar was a coach. So it was ages ago. And I think he was old on that as well. He was like in his mid-20s on that. So yeah, he's very old. And it's very sad to see a guy like that. And I think the amount of slugfest that he's been in, it surely must have taken some damage to the point where he's not the same. But yeah, he's El Kukui back in his prime. He was scary. Have you seen that? The 9/11, not 9/11, 911 voice call that his wife made to the police about warning the police officers not to be really careful and send like a whole barrage of police officers to deal with her husband because she's like,
yeah, he had a bit of a moment.
My name, what's his name? And the operator's like, oh, what's his name? He's like, oh, Tony Ferguson. And then there's like so many edits on TikTok of it, just that face that he pulled against Anthony Pettis where it's like blood dripping down. Yeah. And it's like, damn, that guy is scary. I mean, that's probably the best nickname in UFC. Well, it's probably top 3
El
UFC
Kukui.
history. Yeah, El Kukui. I mean, that is frightening. But yeah, it's sad. Obviously, Nate Diaz last fight on his contract. There is
he's free.
There's a bit of a rumor going around that I saw that he'll sign a 1-fight contract to do a McGregor trilogy or something like that. But I think everyone would love to see that. I think.
Well, they both have said it's going to happen, but the problem is they're both getting shitter by the day. So,
especially Conor needs to get. What the fuck is that guy doing? I know you broke your leg, son, but that was like 2 years ago now.
Yeah, they've got to make it soon, or it's just going to be a joke. Really.
Yeah, I think Conor at this point is like, I'm kind of set for the rest of my life. Like, I'm literally, I know, I think he is even real. I think the reason why he came back before was he's still in his brain, he thought I can still be, champion of the world.
Surely I can beat Dustin still. I mean, I destroyed him easily the first time.
He probably in his head is like, maybe not Habib, but like, I can come back and sort of beat these top guys again. I believe I can do it. But once he lost to Dustin twice, I know was it a medical stoppage technically, the third fight?
Yeah, it was the end of the round.
So yeah, technically it was a medical stoppage, but even so, he was getting dominated in that fight anyway. And I think in his head, he surely must be thinking, what is the point? I can make a shit ton of money, but I'm going to lose. I already have so much money anyway. What's the point? I'm only want to come back if I can compete at the best. So I do see maybe I know it sounds bad, but maybe like a boxing match being put on between those two, which would be shocking.
Well, Conor's under contract, so he would have to get Dana's permission. But I think Nate wants to fight Jake Paul, or I think he wants to box someone.
Yeah, I think Nate's like, well, I made shit money for so long until the Conor McGregor fight. I need to start making some bank. And then it'll fight Jake Paul. He'll fight, stupid. Maybe like, we'll fight Floyd. Do you see Floyd Mayweather? The rumors that he's going to fight Deji?
I don't think that's real.
I saw it on multiple accounts. So
it can't be real.
Imagine Deji.
I think it was a joke. It has to be a joke. But yeah.
Guy from I've watched KSI especially for so long and seeing Deji when he was young and all the videos that they did. Just watching that guy fight Floyd Mayweather is just bananas to me. But yeah, just in essence, it's Nate Diaz sort of became a household name since the McGregor fights, and ever since then he's been sort of the UFC fans' number one fighter, I guess. He's like one of the more popular guys.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most popular. But yeah, I think best case for Conor right now is you got Chandler, and Chandler is fighting Dustin. That just got announced in November. So I think best case scenario for Conor is Chandler somehow wins that fight, which I think is a little unlikely. But if Chandler can somehow win that fight, I think Conor can fight Chandler, and that is probably the most winnable fight for him, in my opinion, in the top 5. And then he can get a title shot against whoever wins out of Charles and Islam.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting one, and hopefully my boy Conor can come back and fight Nate Diaz for the trilogy. And I think if you're looking at Conor's chances of winning a UFC fight, I think that's probably up there. I mean, you could fight Tony, but
I think
even everybody and their mother thinks Tony's done. So
yeah, I was like, oh, please retire, because I was watching some dude like reacting to it on YouTube, on the live stream, and he was just saying Tony looks so bad. It was kind of like a dance fight. It was so weird. They were both just walking around.
Yeah, Nate was just taking the piss. Have you seen like those streams where like the illegal streams where people like are pretending to play like Xbox or so, like they're playing like the UFC game, just to take the piss out of Dana? But yeah, it's a sad day. I think if you watched, especially the main event, I mean, it was kind of weird though, because it was definitely the worst quality fight of the night, but there was a main event, and I felt it was a bit weird, but
yeah, I mean, no one really cares. They saw a decent fight, so I mean,
a bit of entertainment.
He definitely should have retired, but he's fucking brain dead, so he wants to, take some more punishment, I guess.
Ooh,
so yeah, we'll look forward to Tony getting his brains punched in the next fight. Why am I opening this?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Okay,
stop moving. You're moving the camera around when you're banging the table.
That's enough of that, all right?
Is it?
Yeah. That's
whatever
enough.
you say.
Moving on to Monza. F1, latest race.
Yeah. Well, I mean, surprise of the century, Verstappen won. I don't think anyone saw that coming. It was a real shock to the system. But look, it was a disappointing weekend whole. Haas sucked. Danny Rick was actually
doing well.
I mean, especially in quality, you're like fourth. Could Danny Rick get a podium? And then he was like, no, there's no chance.
The fucking car failed on him. The one race he was driving well, the car failed on him.
Yeah, I don't think, but yeah, there was multiple bad things that happened. Ferrari obviously fucking suck ass again. How many times are we going to hear over the radio, Plan C? They're going with Plan C.
They're so shit. It's like you get 5 laps in and they go, Charles, what do you want to do? And I'm like, fuck off. Why are you asking him what he wants to do? You're the only team that have no idea what they're doing.
Charles, we're going to go with Plan Z here. Plan Z.
Charles, what do you think of Plan C? And he's like, I don't give a fuck, mate. Just put me on
they tried to do some abstract thing, even though they were in the lead. But yeah, whatever. Cool. Good job, Ferrari.
They were like, when the safety car came out, they're like, Charles, Plan Z.
But yeah, it was unsurprising from that perspective. But the one shining light of the weekend was the fact that Nicholas Latifi is officially in the mud. That prick, that scumbag who fixed a race, and no one will tell me any difference. He fixed that final race last season, and he's in the mud, and everyone knows he's in the mud now because a literal rookie came in first time in the car, came in, got points with the car. He's got more points than Latifi has all season.
Yeah, I think it's official that Latifi is the worst driver of all time.
It's not even close. I know the Williams suck, but it's still got some speed. Like, it's got speed. I know it's a bit of a shitbox, but it's still fast, especially on straight lines. I don't know. Is that a terminology that's used?
Yes, it's fast in straights.
Yeah, in straights. I should have said straights. But yeah, it's fast in the straights. But I mean, the guy sucks. Do you see his post-match, post-race interview?
What do you say? We've got to look at the data. I mean,
but he was like, "What?" I think the interview asked him, what's your opinion on Nick DeVries getting points or whatever? And he's like, well, that's where the car should have been. I fell back originally, and it was so salty as well. And you're like, mate, the car should have been. Shut up.
Just he got preferential treatment. I mean,
maple syrup eating motherfucker. Just shut up. We get it.
Him and Lance Stroll are both of them. They're both awful.
No, Lance Stroll has some talent. Like, Lance Stroll can race.
Minimal talent.
But Latifi has none. At least Lance Stroll has done something. Like, he has been he's been consistently average. I know he's had some moments, especially early on, where he was crashing with everybody. But still, he's had some moments. I don't think Latifi could get a podium in a Red Bull. I honestly don't.
Hell no.
I don't think
Sergio Perez can't even do it. How's Latifi going to do it?
But yeah, that's an interesting one. Sergio Perez obviously not getting a podium again. Do you think Red Bull are kind of thinking in the back of their mind?
Did he not get a podium? I didn't even know what the result was.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just I can't remember. But yeah, do you think Red Bull should move on from Sergio Perez? I mean, he has had a lot of bad form as of recent.
There's no.
Well, I swear he had a problem he went on some ulterior strategy. We had to do halves the whole race.
Came from the back. Yeah, he finished 6th.
Yeah, he finished 6th. So, I think Red Bull are kind of looking at it go, well, if Mercedes get their shit together next year, I mean, Ferrari never getting their shit together, but if Mercedes can get a drivable car next year, are we going to forfeit the constructors just because we don't have a good number 2 driver or a number 2 driver that's... I know he had good form at the start of the year, but it's been shocking as of recent.
I don't think Perez has ever been that guy, though. He's just a consistent...
I know, but he hasn't been
driver.
consistent recently. That's the thing. That's the thing that they could held their hats on. They're like, this guy's going to finish 3rd and 4th every race, and it'll be solid for us. But now he's not even doing that. So it's a bit of a situation. And I think George Russell is... I know a lot of people don't like him, but in a Mercedes, he's doing quite well. And has he passed Perez, I think, in constructors' points?
I don't know. Maybe.
Or in championship points. I think that the car that he's got, how Verstappen is so in one with that car is unbelievable. But still, the car is by far and away the best car on the grid. And the fact that...
Perez is 3rd.
Well, how far is Russell behind him?
7 points.
7 points behind him. And he's been in a Mercedes. So
Verstappen has 125 more points than him. Than Perez.
Yeah, come on. That's a bit shocking. But who would they even go for? You proposed it last week, Danny Rick, coming back.
I reckon go for it. But no, they're not going to... He's under contract. They're not going to kick him out of his contract. Like, he's not...
But, again, if it starts badly next season, do they...
Maybe if it starts badly next season, but they're not in a position where they need to think about doing that right now because they're winning so easily.
I know, but there's got to be like a plan in place for that to be a genuine possibility because... They've got to be thinking, like I said, they've got to be thinking that at some point Mercedes are going to get the car because they throw that much money at it. They're going to get a car that's going to be able to compete with us. And then it's just going to come down to the drivers. And is our true 2-driver lineup better than Mercedes? Verstappen's clearly going to be the best driver, but overall, the average between them, is Perez going to be able to keep up with a George Russell? I don't think so. So there's got to be, I think, a contingency plan in for that, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as this race goes, I thought actually Leclerc had a chance before this race because he started on pole. He was quicker than Verstappen in qualifying. So I'm thinking, okay, Ferrari might have some pace.
Mate, if you think
Verstappen had a penalty, so he was starting in 7th. So I'm like, all right,
if you think Ferrari are going to win another race this year, you're in cuckoo land.
Well, I just thought this was the perfect opportunity. It's usually difficult to overtake at Monza, as we saw Daniel won in a McLaren last year because no one could overtake him. And I thought it would take Verstappen at least, 5 to 10 laps to get past.
Did you see the race before where he was in no man's land and then all of a sudden he was in 5th in a lap?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I saw when the race started, it took him about 3 corners to get into 2nd. And I was like,
it was like that car. It's so
well. There goes that. He's won.
It's so ridiculous. It's almost like a video game where he's got it's like beginner mode on the F1 game. He's just streaming past everyone. It's like. The biggest. It's like, what are we even watching this for? It's not even like the broadcasters are like, oh fuck, we're not going to show the start. We're not going to show the front. Let's just show Zhou Guanju.
Verstappen probably has the least screen time out of any driver.
Yeah, Latifi gets all the screen time. I mean, he's in the wall half the time, so he gets a lot of screen time.
Latifi, the commentators are talking, they're following a battle, and then you just get some random cut to Latifi.
That's one thing I hate as well. Especially at the start of the race, they do in this race. Verstappen's climbing up. I know he's eventually going to do it, but it's like the 2nd lap, and they're doing some stupid Stroll and Latifi. It was Magnussen, I think, overtook Latifi or something. I don't even know. But it was some stupid thing like that where a bottom driver overtook another one at the start of the race. And I'm like, why are you showing me a replay of this? Wow. One guy's going to finish 15th instead of 16th. Brilliant. Good job. It's like...
They're on the charge.
Can we not just show the front at the start? Because we're not going to be able to show the front at any other point in the race because it's just going to be Verstappen by country mile.
They may have had a chance to show the front at the end of this race because unfortunately when Daniel's car broke down, there was a safety car. And that was the bit of the controversy where they were like, should they have just red flagged it so you could actually get 3 laps of racing in rather than finish behind the safety car and actually make the end of the race interesting because it brought the field back together. So, I mean, I think it would have been good to see the last few laps raced, see if Leclerc could somehow manage an overtake in the last couple of laps. Obviously, it is a little bit boring. I mean, a little bit of a I don't know.
It wouldn't have mattered. A lot of people made a big deal about
but
it.
Seeing a race finish under the safety car,
Who cares?
It's not
Verstappen would have won anyway. It would have been.
He probably would have, but you'd rather see that than just finish under not racing. You know, they're just driving behind a car.
Anything to benefit Max. So I changed my mind. Anything to benefit Max. I mean, when Max is losing, put a race on. We went motor racing, Toto. Toto, we went motor racing. I don't know why I did it in an Italian accent.
Yes.
But yeah,
Toto, we went motor racing.
We need to go motor racing when Verstappen's not winning, but when Verstappen's winning, we need to follow the rules. You know, we need to be.
Well, yes, the guy that went motor racing got fired, so obviously they're not going to do that again.
But yeah, a bit of an interesting one, but when's the next race? Is it
not this week?
Not this week. Thank the Lord, I don't have to watch Verstappen win again. Great.
Yeah,
I mean, Verstappen could. I don't think if Verstappen didn't race for the rest of the year, he'd still win.
He might.
He'd still win because look, Ferrari won't get it together. I'm sure
Ferrari it's embarrassing.
I'd hate to be a Ferrari fan. There's a lot of Ferrari fans, but I don't
understand.
Like as a Haas fan, it's quite mutual. It's like, well, we shit, but we got points. Oh my god, no way. Mick Schumacher got first points, and then you just come to the realization that you're shit. And then Danny Rick, obviously being a Danny Rick fan is tough, but we also have come to the but Ferrari fans still have like that. I know they know that their team is full of idiots, but they still have that. Well, our car is still fast.
I don't understand how they make a fast car with all those idiots. It must just be some sort of dumb luck.
No, I saw it actually a really funny TikTok video where it's like every other F1 team tries to make the most successful F1 car to promote real life cars. Ferrari, it's the opposite. They do real life cars to fund money for their F1 car, but they can't even get that right. It's the most bizarre thing ever. They're the only one with the reverse model as most. Like Mercedes have an F1 car so they can fund money and promote their usual cars. Ferrari, it's the opposite, but they suck at the thing that they're trying to be good at. It's ridiculous. And they're good at the thing that they're not trying to be good at. They sell their Ferrari cars like one of the most popular, like a luxury cars in the world. They're great at that. But the one thing that they want to be good at, they suck at. It's the most...
Yeah. Well, they aren't firing these people for some reason. They're just letting this dude with his fucking curly hair and his glasses sit there every week and go,
like, I know...
Charles Plan C, yes.
It's all about tradition, you know, you want to be like, oh, let's all be Italian.
They got to get rid of the Italians. I know
it's like the mafia. It's like you've got to have Italian father.
They should try putting someone of a different nationality in charge. Just see what happens. Maybe you can live in Italy. Maybe that's enough.
Maybe he's like a neighbor. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I don't want to say Greece because Italians and Greece don't like each other that much. But yeah, maybe like a European neighbor. I don't know.
Maybe a Hungarian or
maybe a Spanish,
a Portuguese,
or a neutral European nation. I don't know, like
a Finland.
Yeah, a Finnish team director. They could do that. Why don't do that? But yeah, it's pretty shocking if you're a Ferrari fan at the moment. But
it's just one of the all-time capitulations of.
Yeah, it's almost like Ole Gunnar someone like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer running Manchester United. It's almost like that bad. So,
yeah, pretty much.
It's just they're just doing it for vibes at this point.
They're just doing it for the 1 minute interview with Crofty and Brundle on the
so that
telecast.
Just for the vibe that they're all Italian.
Yeah, they literally asked him when he comes on. They're like,
"Why are you
asking Charles what he wants to do? Don't you have a plan?" And he goes, "We want drivers' input into the plan. They are out there and they know what they're feeling." And it's like, you moron. They can't see what the other 20 cars are doing.
It's like it's all like a GPS map of like the tracking of each car. It's like I'm pretty sure Charles. Do they even have a plan A, or do they just go?
They definitely don't use it.
I swear to God, I always hear Plan C every single time.
I thought Plan A would be the one you want. But obviously I've
never heard Plan A or Plan B on the comms. All I hear is Plan C. So every race, the two scenarios that you want the most don't happen. So every single race, you're just fucking up that bad that you're like, oh, we got to do this now. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't know.
It is some sort of...
It's funny, but it's...
Some sort of
It's funny, but it's tragic at the same time.
It is. It is very, very tragic. So... moving on to new people in charge. The Premier League. This new dude, I don't even know who he is. What's his name?
For Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Todd Bowley, the American geezer who just bought.
Is he a new owner?
Yeah, it's a Chelsea owner.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I can sort of explain it. So he did an interview on a live, it might have been it was like in an auditorium. It was kind of like a tell-all, I guess, or I don't know what exactly it was, but he sort of proposed the proposition of there being an all-star game for the Premier League. And it's actually quite mixed, but rarely pretty popular, I think, if you looked on Twitter. I think a lot of people don't mind the idea. But yeah, basically an all-star game, I don't know when it would be, but between North and Southern EPL teams. He mentioned the fact that the MLB made, what was it, 200 million or something. And I think it was quite a mixed reaction to the news. I think a lot of people were like, we don't want you Yanks involved in our sport anymore, you prick. And then there was also the reaction, well, it'd actually be quite a good sort of thing at the start of a season, per se. And then you can sort of use that money to fund it down to the footballing pyramid and stuff. And Todd Bowley did mention that. And I don't think for me personally, if it the Charity Shield match or the Community Shield match at the start of the season is the most stupid game in the world. I know it's history and it's tradition, but who gives a fuck, honestly? I think if you have that bit of a bit of a rivalry game it's basically would be like a Community Shield match. You could basically do the Community Shield match, but instead of doing the winners of the FA Cup and the Premier League, you do it between an all-star team between North and South. I don't see a problem with that. It still goes to charity. It still funnels down. Also, you maybe put some money to funnel down the footballing pyramid. I actually quite like the idea. Now, there is the point that should be made that it's the rivalry between Premier League teams is very geographical based, but it's not between North and South. It's within the North and within the South. So Arsenal hate Spurs,
but that's the same. That's the same with every sport.
But I don't think it's as bad
in the NBA. It's not a West and East rivalry.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as bad though. Like, I think that I don't know, Chicago and New York, both Eastern powerhouses, in terms of basketball. But I don't think they might dislike each other, but I don't think they hate each other to the point of Man United and Liverpool hate each other. You know what I mean?
It's like I don't New York and Brooklyn.
I think it would be pretty difficult, especially for a lot of fans from Liverpool or a lot of fans from Manchester, to support a team where it's a lot of Liverpool players in it, you know? So I think the rivalry that within the North and within the South, I think to be able to connect those players and having them high-five each other and celebrating after a goal. I know you do it for England and all that stuff, and you have different players across the country that play for England, and you do it on a national basis, but I think it's a bit different if it's in a Community Shield and they're laughing and they're hugging in a game, and then the next game they're bitter rivals.
Because they are, these days, they're all mates.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I would personally have the game if it was up to me.
That would just be some old head fans feeling that way.
I know, but it's just, I think it's a different, I don't think Todd really understood the dynamic that there is an East versus West sort of culture thing. I'm not American, so I don't know that much, but East versus West is a genuine rivalry, I think, in terms of cultures in the US, but it's not the same North and South. I think it's between places in the North and between places in the South. But I would personally like the idea. I think instead of the Community Shield, if it didn't replace it, but it was the Community Shield, but instead of the FA Cup and the Premier League, it was between North and South. I think that'd be a really cool idea. Yeah, it would be pretty interesting how you would do it. I think the sort of main thing going around was you'd have to maybe have a 3-player cap for each team. So you couldn't if it was a North team, you couldn't just all have Man City players. You'd have to have 3 players from each team at maximum. So I think that would be a cool idea to mix it up a bit. So you don't it's not a Man City Liverpool team versus an Arsenal Chelsea team or Arsenal Chelsea Spurs team. You have a bit of Crystal Palace might be in the southern, a player from Crystal Palace might be in the southern team. You might have I don't know, but also there is a couple Midlands teams as well. So how would you divvy up the Midlands? It'd be a bit difficult because it's not set out conferences like the NBA. So what about Wolves? Wolves is in the middle. Leicester's, in the Midlands. So where would they go? Would they just not participate?
I saw a graphic where it was split up, half the teams.
Well, yeah, but I think it is definitely 3 separate places. So the South, Midlands, North. And I don't think a Midlands fan or a Midlands player would consider himself a Northern player. But yeah, I think, look, it's a possibility if they figure those type of logistics out. But yeah, I don't hate the idea. I think it's sort of makes the start of the season more interesting. And I wouldn't have it during the season like the All-Star game is in America, but if it was sort of the new format for the Charity Shield or the Community Shield, I think it'd be a good substitute for me personally.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
But I don't want the other things. I don't want like a penalty shootout competition. I think that's fucking retarded.
Well, yeah, then you're sort of getting into literally like NBA.
Yeah, we don't want to Americanize it too much, but I think a game between North and South, I think there's no harm in that.
I think it's different. Well, it's sort of different if you do it at the start of the season compared to midway through the season, and you're picking guys based on their season form.
Yeah.
Like if you do like in the NRL, how they do the All-Stars game, they do it before the season. I guess you could do it like that. I hadn't thought of it. I had thought of it more as a mid-season type of thing. But I think it'll be cool to see teams formed from different clubs. It's not just like an All-Star game rules. It's something that people talk about. You get behind making your own All-Star teams. Who this
like I said, it makes a preseason interesting.
Yeah, like this player deserves it more than this player. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and in all the American sports, it's not about the game itself or the product of the game itself. It's about who's playing in the game. The honor of being named an All-Star.
Well, also, the counterpoint to that would also be that's what the Super League was about. It's about the best players playing each other. However, it ruins the culture. But I'm saying people are worried that no one's going to care about the All-Star game because in America no one cares about the All-Star game. Like they don't try. Yeah. But like I said, if it was the Charity Shield, there's nothing to lose there because no one cares about that anyway. So I think if you just try something new with it, I don't think there's any harm in that for me personally.
And I saw someone saying like clubs won't allow it because they don't want players to get injured, and like insurance and all of that.
Stupid.
But it's like injuries aren't really that common in soccer. It's not like
they are,
but not as much.
They're pretty common, but
it's not like people are tearing ACLs every day.
But again, the Community Shield, players still play. So I think if and it doesn't have to be fully intense. It could be a bit more of a All-Star game feel, but just a Community Shield game. But yeah, I think it looks like both of us sort of agree that'd be a good idea. So let's see how it goes. So see if it goes ahead, shall I say?
Yeah, I'm sure it won't, but
you never know.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right, I guess that probably caps off the sporting chat for this week. We've got a little top 3 list to finish us off.
Well, this is still a sport list, kind of.
Yeah. Well, not really related to the
topics, but
actual competition, but yeah. I don't know where this theme came from, but we're just going to do top 3 sporting like songs or chants or anthems, whatever you want to do. Top 3.
Yeah. So, do you want to start first?
Okay, I'll do mine first. Should we play like a snippet?
No, we don't want to get we got copyrighted before for playing music.
If we do like 3
not playing
seconds.
music. No, we'll get copyrighted. Just sing it.
Doesn't
you
matter
can sing it. Sing it. Please sing it. I want you. I'd prefer if you sing it.
So
you don't know the words, but you know the song.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
number 3,
make it make sense.
I got Colors by Jason Derulo. So that was a song.
What kind of sports song is that?
I'm about to tell you.
Give me a rendition of it. I can't even remember.
Exactly. I don't know the words. I have to play it.
You don't know the words. You don't know the song.
I'm telling you right now.
It's the top 3 sports song of all time.
Because it's a 2018 World Cup song. You know that song?
Pause it. Turn that shit off. I've never heard of that song.
I've heard it. It's 2018 World Cup song. I'm a bit of a Jason Derulo. Like, he's my guilty pleasure, I'd say. I do like a bit of Jason Derulo.
I mean, What an awful pick.
So I like that song. It's a good song. 2018 World Cup. I could honestly just put a bunch of World Cup songs in here because there's a lot of bangers. But like I didn't put Waka Waka in here, so honorable.
Well,
mention.
I didn't even pick songs. I meant more. Lent more. Well, I did actually. No, I lent more on the anthem side of it.
Yeah, but they're not as cool. So I also
they're more pride.
at number 3. I put Connor's Walkout as an honorable mention as well.
Yeah, that's
obviously
good.
Foggy Dew into Hypnotize.
That's probably the best walkout.
As
music.
soon as I hear that, I just immediately start Billy strutting. So, okay, number 2, I had Sweet Caroline. Not necessarily for Liverpool. I put it in more for Darren Till.
It is Liverpool.
I know, but when he walked out to that in London, fuck me, that is a sick walkout. One of the best walkouts of all time. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on our YouTube. Pretty fire.
Yeah, we put it out.
but
We
yeah,
produced it.
Sweet Caroline, obviously a banger in its own right. You know, you play that with the boys, get around it. So yeah, Sweet Caroline, number 2 for me. And number 1, I put Waving Flag from 2010 World Cup.
Yeah,
Now,
good song.
yeah, this is just my childhood in a song, pretty much. I was probably running around my bedroom in circles listening
In France.
to that. No, in Sydney.
In your French bedroom.
No, in Sydney.
Oh, s'il vous plaît.
Because I used
Thierry Henry.
to have a CD player in my bedroom, and I had this CD.
Oh, now we sound so old as well.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna get like
had,
roasted by the 13-year-olds.
Yeah, but I had
What's the CD player?
Yeah, and I had these sports songs on it. Like I had that. I had this Ricky Martin one, and like We Are the Champions and all that.
Why'd you have Ricky Martin?
It was on the CD. I didn't choose it, did I? But I did like the
That was
song.
very French of you. But anyway, that's
my list. Waving Flag number 1.
that's your list. Okay. My list. I actually have one kind of song. So my 3 was actually the notorious, the Conor McGregor walkout song. I just think that's quality, best walkout song in anything. There's a couple Tyson Fury ones, but I think Tyson Fury makes that. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
when
Tyson Fury isn't a walkout; it's a get carried out on a chair.
Yeah, but when he was singing that song when he was on the throne, like that was one of the best walkouts ever. But it's not like I love this song. I just think he made that a really awesome walkout. But I think this mix is such a cool mix where it does a Foggy Dew, it's the Irish, especially when it's a green, you know, in the octagon, the waving flag.
For the Chad Mendes fight, she sung it live.
I don't think it was that good. It was a bit weird, but it was still, the moment was insane. Yeah. And I think when it transitions to Biggie and he's walking out, I think that's super, super cool. Now the last 2, I've gone for anthems. Now, the second one, it's a bit sort of controversial, but I think the New Zealand national anthem. I've always appreciated.
I don't even know what it sounds like.
No, but when we were younger, you watched rugby union a lot. I think when we were younger, we watched rugby union. Now it's dying, but still, I think it's such a cool anthem. I feel like it incorporates English and Maori.
I mean, in rugby union, they do the haka.
But they do the national anthem as well, you idiot.
I don't think they do.
Yes, they do, you idiot.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, I'm wrong. Yeah, I've never heard of it. I'm just making it up. I'm just making that up that they sing English and Maori.
I don't know what it sounds like.
But yeah, I think that's really cool how they do that. And I think the New Zealand national anthem, I think especially sung by the players, and I think it's just such a cool cultural thing that they do where they integrate the two cultures, and it feels really unifying. And I think it's also, obviously the haka is probably really the most intimidating part of their introductions, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool anthem. I think from an anthem perspective, probably the best I've heard. Like in terms of the words and the flow of the anthem. Like the Australian one is, I'm sorry.
Advance
where land girt by sea. Who uses girt in a anthem? What a stupid word.
All the anthems have weird words like that. They're made hundreds of years ago.
And obviously, number 1, in honour of Her Majesty, the Queen, it's God Save the Queen, the English national anthem. Every time it's played, especially from in an English football match, or wherever you hear it, really, in a pub, anywhere really. It's a fantastic album. What I say album? It's a fantastic anthem. The whole crowd gets into it. It's so simple. It's about God. It's about King. Or it's about King now, but it's about Queen.
God and the Queen.
It's about God and the Queen.
Well, one of those doesn't exist.
Well, and the thing is, it's interchangeable as well. It changes. Now it's the King. So,
but what about God? What if he's gone?
He's not God. He's not gone.
But what if he was never here?
Okay, it's cool. Okay, you sing about your devotion to God and country. It's cool.
Why would I want to sing about my devotion to God?
Because you care about your country.
Okay, but not the God bit.
Well, at least not. I'm girt by sea. At least that's not in the lyrics. Okay.
Well, I'd rather say that than I'm devoted to God.
Okay. Well, it's not. It doesn't really mean that you're devoted to God. It means that God basically saved the Queen. Fortunately, God didn't save the Queen as of recent, but saved her for a long time. She was very.
So do the lyrics get changed now? Is that how it
yeah,
works?
it's changed.
Really?
Yeah, it's changed now.
So it's God Save the King now?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They did it I think they did it the other day when he was coronated.
Why do they do that?
Because the Queen's dead.
Just pick an anthem. Why does it
Because
change?
the Queen's dead. Do you think they change? What? How do you think it changed the Queen?
Just make it king or queen and leave it.
But there's no Queen anymore.
At the time, whatever it was at the time, just leave it at that.
It was probably originally king, because
God save the king.
But then it would have been
God save the queen.
But it doesn't go like that, does it? I could do a rendition, but my singing voice. You got to be very opera sort of, very opera inducive.
I think they did it in Johnny English, maybe.
Is that where you know it from?
Yeah, that's where I'm picturing it.
Okay, lovely. Well, anyway, I just think that's cool. Obviously, if objectively, you could argue that You'll Never Walk Alone should be in my list. However, I don't like Liverpool, so I don't hate Liverpool the city, but Liverpool the football club. And I'm not going to put that in my list, am I? And to be honest, the Anfield is not what it's hyped up to be. But at the start, especially in big games, it is pretty incredible to hear You'll Never Walk Alone. But yeah, look, I chose my list, and I think the Connor walkout's a bit more enjoyable for me to listen to anyway. But yeah, that's my list, and I went more on the anthem side. You went more on the stupid songs.
I'm not going to go listen to a national anthem for fun.
I know, but that's what I think. It's different definitions, though. I think also, I think my connection with song or music and sport is the anthem. Yours is more like, you listen to soundtracks of, World Cup music and stuff like that. Mine is more before the game, you're singing with your countrymen. I think that's music and sport for me. But for you,
yeah, but it's like,
we could have done the Shakira song as well. That we haven't mentioned that.
I did mention it.
Well, you mentioned it, but we didn't. None of us had it in our list. But yeah, obviously the 2010 one, probably the best World Cup playlist or World Cup song.
Yeah, easily. Well, and that's like the GOAT World Cup as well, even though it wasn't really good.
Was
World
it?
Cup, but it
was the strangest one,
because that was like the peak.
Well, yeah, for our people our age,
that was just the peak of my life, really.
Well, yeah, for our age, yeah, it was. But it was a very weird. If you look back on it, it's a very weird World Cup. I mean,
yeah, there was vuvuzelas.
It was just you. I mean, imagine that now, just drowned out. Imagine playing with that. It's like the whole game.
The ball was a fucking.
Yeah, it was like
what's it called?
It was weirdly made, and it would just swerve around randomly. I had one of those balls.
Yeah,
it's a really cool ball.
The Jabulani, everyone had one of them.
But it's just really weird. It doesn't behave like a normal soccer ball or football. So it's very, very weird, I'd imagine, for the players to play with a normal football.
The boots were sick though at the World Cup.
Yeah, and there was a lot of cool stories, like the Ghana. Ghana made it far until Luis Suarez decided to play goalkeeper. Yeah, it was
Spain won.
Obviously, we got robbed by Germany and Manuel Neuer, that piece of shit. Side note, the most fucking biggest prick in the history of goalkeeping. I mean,
Neuer.
Yeah, you can clearly see.
He's still doing it.
You can clearly, okay, cool, bro. But he's German. He looks like, I don't want to say it, but he looks like he'd be liked by a certain someone back in the 1940s. That's all I'm going to say. He's maybe in a wet dream of that particular someone.
Maybe it's his offspring.
Yeah, maybe it's the idealistic German type for that.
He's a lab baby.
Yeah, maybe descendant of a potential right-wing supremacist. But anyway, that's not why I dislike him for the fact that he's an absolute cheat, and he saw the ball go over the line that Frank Lampard scored. He saw that ball go over the line. He looked at it. There's camera angles that prove it.
Why would he say it went in?
Because it was so clearly over the line.
If the ref's too dumb to see it, why would you
Do you not have any decency? Do you not have any integrity?
It's the World Cup, mate. No one is doing that. Oh, my God.
Oh,
get off your high horse.
Mate, no integrity. And he also played for Germany as well. No one likes England and Germany.
He played for his country. Whatever.
No, but like, I'm not saying that it's wrong he played for Germany. I'm saying that England and Germany have a natural rivalry. Stemming back to actually the 1930s, funny enough, or 19
Probably before that.
Yeah, 1914 around there. Yeah, but yeah, it's just a difficult one. I just always hated Bayern Munich as well growing up. They knocked out Man United a couple of times. So Neuer, all-time most hated goalkeeper. I just want to point that out there. But yeah, for an England fan, it wasn't a great World Cup. We had Fabio Cabello. Australia
2010 was meant to be you had the God squad of Lampard and Gerrard and Beckham.
Yeah,
and
we
all
had Ferdinand, Terry.
Yeah.
Ashley Cole, our goalkeeper was
Hart.
David. Yeah, no, it was David James. I think we had as goalkeeper. It was pretty shocking.
Rooney.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable team. But we also had he was Fabio Cabello, who was well known in Italy, but didn't speak a lick of English.
Playing for England.
No, he was the manager.
Oh, right.
And he would like do these weird things. He was unbelievably strict, and it was ridiculous. But yeah, it was kind of like. That World Cup was the sort of moment where that dream team that we had, it was the golden generation apparently, but we knew that they were never going to win anything, and it was sad. But yeah, you never know. This World Cup, we could come through and be great again. I
mean, I don't know. England have never won anything, and
well, yeah, we have Southgate in charge now, so it's not great. But yeah, apparently Rashford and Sancho is going to be back in the England squad, which is they're good news.
Great news. Sancho's good. Rashford,
I thought you said
be too pleased with.
Yeah, I thought you said Rashford was shit. He's been playing well.
Yeah, that's what he is shit.
But did you not see how decent? Oh, he's been real.
I mean, he's scored a couple goals. Sure,
yeah, he's been poor He's been poor at striker, but off the left wing, he's been good. I felt so. Look, I'm happy that they're back in. What did you make? Did we talk about what you made of Anthony? Like what you?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to reaffirm that we beat Arsenal. So. Sucked in, pricks. But yeah, that's the podcast for today. Hope you enjoyed. Go follow us on every social media platform, bruv. And subscribe, share.
Give us
a
everything.
love.
Give me everything tonight.
Give me... Okay. You didn't want to continue. Okay,
nah,
fine. All right, fine. Bye then.
Peace
Jesus.
out. Subscribe.